watching the Dog Show. Another new episode is coming up tonight.
It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show. It's the Dog Show.
You're listening to the one and only Dog Show. Your hosts, Troop Brenson and Smooch Moncrief.
Ole Miss struggled in the fourth quarter not because of Georgia. Ole Miss struggled in the fourth quarter because their quarterback spiked a couple of passes in the dirt. All of a sudden, he had trouble throwing the football. He got rattled in front of a high-intensity crowd. That's not going to happen in the Sugar Bowl. So we'll see exactly how it goes.
Welcome, dog fans, to the one and only Dog Show with Troop and Smooch. Stephen Willis with Locked On Ole Miss.
What you talking about, Willis?
We're talking about him, and he's talking about Georgia, but he doesn't have a clear idea what these dogs are all about.
No.
And he's got some reasons and some justifications, and in the first game where he thinks that it's going to play out this time, and maybe it was because Georgia hasn't had to travel very far, or because the crowd affected Chambliss in the fourth quarter, but didn't affect him in the first three quarters. Right. What was his other thing? What else did he have on there?
He spiked a couple of balls. And,
it wasn't because we stopped him, because Georgia played a lot more man-to-man. He just threw some balls in the dirt.
He threw some balls in the dirt. It wasn't the fact that Georgia all of a sudden went their man-to-man defense and completely shut him down. Nothing. He actually says nothing that Georgia did. But my favorite part is the wishful thinking all of it's wishful thinking, right, guys? But my favorite part is at the end where he says, this will not happen in the Sugar Bowl. Well, look, the crowd may be more 50-50, or there may be more Ole Miss fans there, but it's an electric crowd. It's a whole different environment. If you can't handle a few people screaming in the fourth quarter, what makes you think that Chambliss is going to rise to the occasion in a college football playoff game? I mean, it's really silly. I'm not saying that Chambliss can't. I'm saying that Georgia's defense dictated the end of that game, and that put the game away. And you can tell with Locked On Ole Miss that stings them so much that he's not trying to convince us that wasn't the case. He's trying to convince himself that that's not the case, because he knows what he saw on the field. When they say, Troop Brenson, that it's really hard to beat a team twice in the same season, that's true. But what happened, that was Ole Miss's shot to beat Georgia. That was their shot. I don't expect this game to be as close. We'll get to that in a little while.
I don't either. And we had somebody on our comments, an Ole Miss fan on YouTube. And you folks, we do appreciate all your patronage and all the listeners. Yeah, and you can be listening on any of our platforms. Go to YouTube, lots of comments there. And one of the Ole Miss fans popped up and said, this guy doesn't represent us. We don't believe what he's saying. I'm like, yeah. This is Locked On. He's paid for his opinions. He does represent you.
That's right. He is part of the Locked On network. Locked On has every team every day. Essentially, that's their tagline. Every team every day. This guy is paid by a network, so he does represent you, right? Yes, more so than we represent the Georgia Bulldogs. Even though I would say our takes are a bit more, though they're slanted, they're at least rational. Yeah. The fever pitch of delusion going into this. I went into this thinking this game could be a coin flip, and the desperation shown by the Ole Miss in the no crowd has really made me think that they're quivering in the corner right now. That's all I can say.
Now, we do think Ole Miss has a puncher's chance to win this game, and they could come out, and we respect their offense, but I respect what I believe wholeheartedly in what Georgia's done this year and the progression they made as a team, and they're a better team. They are. Georgia's a better team. Georgia's a better coach team. They have their coaches still in place. They're not going off to another a school to help to work with that staff or those players right. half and half. They're not doing that. They are truly focused on winning going forward, and Ole Miss can't really say that. Even if they could, Georgia is favored by the touchdown and is battle tested. They've won these games. They beat Ole Miss. I don't care what this. You can tell. You can ask anybody, and they'll have different opinions about what it meant, where they played, and what the fans did. But and the bottom line is these players played 4 quarters, and Georgia won that game in 4 quarters, and Georgia is positioned even better to win this one going forward.
That's exactly right. To believe that this bizarre hype on Ole Miss, you have to believe that your team can lose a $13 million a year coach, and then their assistant coaches can now be splitting time between 2 places. And all of that at the same time, and your team is going to get better because they've got to get better to beat Georgia. To me, that feels like a stretch. That's why they play the game. We'll figure it out on the field. But the brash optimism seemingly is just not attached to anything tangible or quantifiable. It's just let's throw a lot of wishful thinking at the wall and see what sticks, Drew Brinson.
We're okay with fans believing in their team, but give us some rational points. And Steven didn't do a good job at that, and that's okay. Not every podcaster or a media member can be the dog show. We're okay with that.
There's only one, the one and only.
Yep. So we're going to talk about this Georgia game. We're also going to talk about the other games because it is a sensational week of football. This is one of those weeks that every game has its own, storyline, on sachet, on there's no game that you're looking at like, oh, that's going to be a walkthrough, and we'll just move on to the next one. Every game. We're going to talk about those and give our predictions. This is prediction week as a prediction episode where we're going to talk about this and get you guys prepared for what a sensational New Year's Eve. if you're fortunate enough to watch this game on New Year's Eve, not be pulled in all the directions that a lot of people will be pulled in on New Year's Eve. We get it. And then that New Year's Day.
Come on,
those 3 games, buddy. We setting up shop. Just watching a full day of football, 3 huge games, and there's some other games going on that aren't just college football playoff games on New Year's, but we're all about those games. We'll talk about it and give our predictions. We're going to kick it off right now and give you some what we think about Georgia first, and then lead into those other games. That's what you guys want to hear, right?
Absolutely, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, I think that we've said it before, especially when you talk when you're looking at a team as a whole and you're wrapped up in the moment of that. Last year at this time we were thinking about with Gunner's making his first start. That's where we were basically at this time last year, right? And we're thinking about all the ifs. And we were aware that Georgia had a lot more ifs than we're used to at this point last year. But what Georgia has this year, rather than ifs, Georgia has momentum. Everything that you look at on this team is trending the correct direction. And, I just think about the secondary. And I think about how there's 5 stars in our secondary. People were talking, Ellis is a great example. Oh, is this kid a bust? Why hasn't he done anything? Well, now he's the best cover corner on the field for the Georgia Bulldogs. And that's happened within just weeks of this team taking these huge steps. I see the momentum with Georgia more than I see the ifs. Last season was the season of ifs. If this falls into place and if this happens, we've got a real shot. This year, Georgia's got the momentum. It is in their hands. I think they're a favorite against any team left in the playoff. I really believe it. I'm not a Vegas odds maker. I don't even gamble that much. But I really think that Georgia controls their own destiny, and they do so with momentum that other teams don't have, Troop.
Well, and a lot of that is based on defensively, and I hear people that aren't connected with Georgia saying, okay, this is the Georgia defense that we're used to seeing. And you've seen in the last few games when you played Texas and Georgia Tech and Alabama, and Georgia just shut those guys down. It's really built off that secondary, the young guys, and DeMello Jones and Ellis Robinson IV. And now you got Rashawn Dinkins coming on. It's really, and it allows KJ Bolden to play his true position and to play more freely.
Great point.
The defensive surge is built on the trust in those DBs to play some more man-to-man and to allow the numbers to match up front and to create more havoc for offenses, and that's what you've been able to see. But it took some time for that to happen, and Georgia can play zone. They can play man-to-man. They'll match up what they need to, but they feel comfortable in situations where they need to putting those guys out by themselves and letting that pressure get to the quarterback. That's the difference, what you've seen. You've seen some of the front seven grow up as well, get better and better. I mean, other than us not knowing how much we're going to see Gabe Harris in this next game, and you're going to see 99 Jonas JJA is going to. He already plays a lot, but he's going to be out there a good bit more in big situations, so. But the defense should be better. Georgia is ascending in terms of their play. And we played good teams. We're not talking about the Citadel and Tulane. We're talking about really offensive teams that can score a lot of points, like Texas and, like we said, Georgia Tech, Alabama. They execute very well. And Georgia has that to lean on. So you're seeing that defensively. And then you got almost a month for the injury on the offensive line to be fixed with Bobo going out. And then you got Tolliver coming in, played really well against Alabama. No problems against Alabama. The defense did create some very, very good offensive opportunities in short fields, and that may happen again. That's what the defense is doing right now. That's why this is different. And you hear the prognosticators or the pundits from Ole Miss telling you why they have improved, and Georgia's like, we got lots of examples of why we have improved. But it'll all be played out Thursday night. But I feel like that 6.5 points, and there's a lot of people coming in and predicting the Georgia to cover, and this is a game where people are. If you're going to look at all this slate of games, I think Georgia is getting more credit for. Okay, they're going to be Georgia's winning this game. Who is Georgia going to play in the semifinals? This is the quarterfinals,
right?
But it makes sense if you just look at rational reasons. Georgia is picked to win this game, and they should win this game. But it's Trinidad Chambliss. If Trinidad Chambliss, I don't know how healthy Keywan Lacey is, but he didn't pose much of a problem that first game.
No, he wasn't an X factor in the first time.
It was Chambliss. It was Chambliss, and I'm more concerned about. I'll tell you this name. Their tight end Daquan Wright. That's the guy I worry about, because they use him. They put him in all over the place. He can be in the backfield like a fullback, and if you try to send too much pressure, they'll split him out or run him out and dump the ball to him. Very, very dangerous playmaker. But I know Georgia will have an answer for him, because Georgia's linebackers, which is where that comes in, are playing a spectacular football. Looks like C.J. Allen should be 100%. In this game, and you saw what he was just coming back for the Alabama game. Still played a really good ball game.
I would have the way he limped off the field. I would have never thought he would have come back and played like that. That was a performance.
But Georgia's also healthy in other areas, Smooch, and I don't know how much these folks are going to be used. And but you're looking at Colby. We've seen the tape. We've seen the video this past week or so in practice with Colby Young and Ethan Barbour. Very physical players, guys who can block and receive. And in terms of an offense who can just make things happen, and you don't need them to catch 8 balls for 160 yards.
That's right.
You need them to be a cog in that offense and do the job and allow the Georgia offense to keep churning out first downs, and especially when you get in the red zone, which Georgia is one of the top. Is it the top 2? I think you're number 2 in the country in terms of red zone effectiveness or efficiency and scoring touchdowns.
That's right.
Very good. And we predicted that coming in, that Georgia would do that this year just because of the quarterback situation with Gunnar Stockton being a +1 quarterback. They have taken that and they executed and shown you that has been a difference maker, and what Gunnar Stockton has been a difference maker in the red zone.
Yeah. And Troop, let's not forget Barbour, got onto the field in his first college football game ever because he blocks like an absolute demon.
Yes.
His body type, his makeup, all of that. He is a crushing blocker, and that's how he got himself into the game much sooner than people thought he might. Colby Young, there's no mystery there. He is a fabulous, big physical receiver. And so what you've done is you've just made your team more physical and better at blocking on the perimeter. And so you were talking about improvement. Just having those guys back to block is a huge improvement for the Dogs. And you look across this roster, the Gabe Harris loss that's going to sting. Ajanye probably brings more explosion to the position. You may even see, some flashier pass rush from him. But when it comes to what Gabe does, setting the edge, cutting things off, knowing where the defense is behind him and how he sets up the tackle that's on him, those types of things are so difficult to coach. So the Dogs will miss them. They're actually going to take a step up in athleticism for his replacement. But that's just what championship depth is, right? You bring someone off that can help, just like the replacements for Barbour and the replacements for Colby Young came in and did their job well. And so now when those come back, you just add more depth. And Dogs are one thing, it's deep. They like deep rosters, and they like taking you into deep water. And the more quality players they have, the deeper water they can drag you into, because you've just got to be able to trade punches with that many players for that long, Drew.
And you talk about what you wish, and Ole Miss is talking about they're kind of grasping, some of the fans and the pundits are grasping at what could go better and why they didn't win the first matchup. And Georgia can show you results in the past few games against quality competition, quality offenses. And one factor that wasn't used, that he didn't play at all that I know of in that Ole Miss game was Zayden Walker. And he's given these guys just a bona fide pass rusher just to get after the quarterback. And you've seen his speed and his ability to bend and get around the corner, and he just creates havoc.
That's the word. And
so you got him, and then so you don't have to even worry about you. And you still got Raylan Wilson and C.J. Allen, Chris Cole, Justin Williams back there. And so I think that should mitigate a little bit what Chambliss is able to do. They should give him a lot more pressure, and he's going to have to play. And it's always like this, it seems like, when you get to this point of the season, Georgia's only going to lose. And if they have a quarterback, like Alabama had some quarterbacks that just could play otherworldly against them in the past in some of these playoff games. And, but you're going to have Chambliss just have a spectacular game.
That's
not make any mistakes. That is the one route for Ole Miss to win this game.
That's it.
Their defense is not – Georgia's done this all year long. So would you think that Georgia is not going to be able to run the ball in this game, not going to be able to stop the run in this game? That's what they do. That's their whole mentality. That's the personality, the identity of this team. They're going to run the ball, and that seems to work. And whether this is this game's over at halftime or it's a 4-quarter game, that's a factor that Georgia has that pushes the needle firmly in their direction to be able to win these games. And then you got the other distraction where Ole Miss, with the coaching change, and the coaches, they're telling you what they said last week or in one of the press conferences that they're spending a lot of time. Some of these guys are going to the LSU with Lane Kiffin. They're spending time with him as well.
Oh yeah, the whole week of Christmas they were there, right? Yeah,
they're split responsibilities. It can't help. It would be, to me, and I'm sorry, Stephen Willis from Locked On Ole Miss, it will be a huge upset for Ole Miss to find a way to win this game, given all those factors. Everything, the needle is firmly in Georgia's direction, and Georgia's focused on this game, and then focused on three wins. Both teams can say 3 wins away from a national championship, but Georgia is the team that's shown you in the past few weeks that they're ready to, they're prepared and they're battle tested. And they're getting healthier in some key spots where this should be a much lower scoring game, I think. I don't think Ole Miss is going to score in the 30s at all in this game, and they would have to. I feel like they'd have to win.
Yeah, that's it. You just perfectly summed up that. Your point was eloquent. I'm not sure I've heard anyone else say it, but let me just encapsulate for people that aren't as smart as Troop Brinson what he just said. Georgia has multiple paths to victory in this game. Yep. They can win a slog. They can win your running game against our running game. They can win a shootout. They've already proven they can win a shootout against Ole Miss. Georgia has multiple paths to victory. Ole Miss has but one path to victory, and that is that Trinidad Chambliss plays out of his mind and plays at the very top of his ability level for the entirety of the game. That is the Ole Miss path to victory. Is it possible? It is 100% possible. But I could see a scenario where Gunnar Stockton doesn't pass for 200 yards and Georgia wins this game. Right? I can see a scenario where a Georgia receiver does not have 100 yards receiving and Georgia still wins this game. See, you cannot say that about Ole Miss. If Ole Miss is going to win this game, Trinidad Chambliss and those receivers have got to light it up and turn it into another slugfest, shootout, high-scoring game where this time they happen to come out on top because the quarterback doesn't get nervous because of the crowd and spike balls.
in the fourth quarter.
Makes
no sense.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Yeah. Okay, so obviously you can call us homers, but Georgia is favored by a touchdown, almost a touchdown. So we're going to pick Georgia in this ballgame. Before we talk about other games, it feels weird sometimes. We would normally hold our score predictions in a Georgia game. But this is just part. This is like, even though it's the last game of the day in this quarterfinals, it still feels like, this is the appetizer in terms of our show. Yeah. Because we're going to talk about all these other games. You got a score prediction for Georgia Ole Miss, Smooch?
Yeah. I look at trends. I'm always about patterns and where the needle's pointing and all that. I look at Georgia, Alabama the first time. I look at Georgia, Alabama the second time. I see a similar trend with this. Ole Miss was shot. Their shot to beat Georgia was the first time they played. I think Georgia goes in. They go BTA. They take care of business. I've got UGA 31, Ole Miss 13.
Wow.
I don't think they score 20.
18-point victory, Smooch, and I do predict a good first quarter. I think Ole Miss will come out and play with their hair on fire. I just don't think they're equipped to win this game. They haven't been in this situation. Their fans are very excited because they haven't been in this situation very often. And then when they get in this situation, their head coach, takes the money and goes to LSU, and it can't help you. It can't help. I think Charlie Weiss is a good play caller. Do not underestimate losing Lane Kiffin. And even if Lane Kiffin was there, Georgia is going to be favored. Georgia should win this game. And now it's just more in Georgia's favor. I do my prediction is I wrote down here, Georgia 31. Good call, Smooch. Ole Miss 20. I gave them a touchdown, extra touchdown. It could be a late touchdown. I don't know. Yeah. We tend to say stuff like that. It might be a late touchdown to kind of close the score. But 31-20 is my prediction. I don't predict the shootout. Once Georgia gets you and starts squeezing you, the Python starts to squeeze you. They don't need to keep scoring points. They'll just squeeze you to death and squeeze the life out of you. And I think Georgia does take a considerable lead in the third quarter and then just squeezes them, takes them into deep water, and just lets them drown because there's not going to be a whole lot. Once you saw what Alabama did, and Alabama was one of the teams that executed the best I've ever seen a team execute. And they've done that repeatedly against Georgia.
Yeah, they can repeat the task.
But last game, Georgia showed you what little time and with this growth on this defense, what they're able to do, and they'll just take you and get a little lead on you and put you to bed. And that's what happened in that game as well, 28-7, Georgia over Alabama. It might be very similar to that game. Chambliss does present some problems, but he's still not the tactician that Ty Simpson was. And you saw what changes for Ty Simpson when Georgia gets after him. And once you get behind and you're not running the ball very well, Georgia will come after you over and over and over again. Yeah. And then you see turnovers and the game can get ugly. And then Georgia's not going to they're not going to come out. They're going to try to have 12 to 14 play drives and put the game away. That's just what they do. And that's kind of what I think this game will be. So yeah, 31-20.
I love it. And when we say 31 points for Georgia, that's because they don't want to score more. Kirby would rather slow the pace of the game down and beat you up so that in the fourth quarter you're a twitching stain rather than a team that's fired up and thinks it has a shot. So when you look at a score, when you say 31 points, could Georgia go in and like they did against LSU a few years back, throw up 50 here? Probably, but that's not the style of football they play. They want you to dread so hard that defense getting back on the field to face you after they've rested from an 8-minute drive. That is the bread and butter for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, and closing out on this topic with Georgia, and we mentioned this in the past couple of podcasts and it's tough sometimes for some football fans to digest Georgia's their philosophy a lot of times, especially this year with Gunnar Stockton. They really want to get you. They don't mind getting you in 3rd and 2. Gunnar Stockton will do things and decide not to throw certain passes and run the ball, and you're like, oh, he just got 4 yards, and he left some yards on the field there. He could have took a shot downfield and maybe a 50-50 ball. He wants to get you in 3rd and 2 a lot of times. That second down play, that's where they want to get you, because with him being able to run the ball in Georgia's running game, 3rd and 2 is going to be a first down. They're going to convert it, or they showing you they'll go for it on 4th down. They'll keep moving the chains. And that was the big question coming into this season, because you have a quarterback who is fairly new to this whole situation. And it's all quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. You find out about a quarterback on what he does on 3rd down, what he does in the red zone, and then what he does in elimination games. That's what Stetson Bennett was so good at, because him being able to run the ball and the red zone was so huge. And in a situation where the play broke down, he's still picking up 6-7 yards, maybe more. Mm-hmm. And that's what Gunnar Stockton brings to the table. He's not sliding 2 yards short of a first down. He's getting that first down or getting you right there where the next play is easy to make. Yeah. And they just slowly walk you into deep water. And then you make a couple mistakes because you're forced to try to be aggressive. And that's with the way the Georgia defense is playing right now and the trust they have in the defensive backfield, then that's not a situation that's very good for opposing offenses. So
I got one more small prediction.
Sure.
And it's just a trend thing. If you notice through the years, the way it works for a Georgia player that has a game that's maybe not up to his standards, and then the bounce back when it matters, look for DeMello Jones to make an enormous splash play in this football game. I think it's
I hope so, because I really want you folks to see what it's like when DeMello Jones
has the
ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Folks, if they decided to make him an offensive player right now, he could be a star offensively too. He's that kind of a guy, and I've seen him play every game of his high school career, so I know it. But it's also Ellis Robinson being very confident where he is reading the play. He knows what's behind him. He knows where his safety is, and he's kind of coming off. Sometimes when he's reading the quarterback's eyes, he can come off. He did this last game. Come off the quarterback. Come off his responsibility, because he knew the only option they had was a short pass, and just making plays there. So that's that confidence that the back end of Georgia's defense is allowing everything to flow from that. So you're really getting to see the front seven do special things because it's complementary football. So your back end's doing a better job, and they're trusting them, and so they can send extra players. They can send to Corey Thomas, and on a safety blitz, they're doing some things that they didn't do in the first half of the season. And so that's why we think Georgia is positioned to win a national championship there. It's really based on that, because Georgia's offense is plenty good enough. They're very dynamic in what they do. Mm-hmm. But that's the last game. We're working backwards. That's the last one we're going to watch. So we're going to get to watch a full slate of just great contests this week. Then the first one will be New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. And since I know my wife is not listening to this, I can tell you my plan for that, because it's New Year's Eve. She had issues, and I don't have issues, but like the last time Georgia played on New Year's Eve, was it the Ohio State, the Noah Ruggles miss at midnight? Georgia won that game. Yes. And I was losing my mind, excited. I was in my little game room watching that game, and her and her daughter were in the main living room watching the ball drop.
Ron Seacrest.
And she's still irritated that we're at home for New Year's Eve, but I'm like, this is a huge game. It's just like, anyway. And so this year, I manage a bar here in Swainsboro, a restaurant bar, and so I'm like, how do I watch this game? Because I know she might want to do something. So I just scheduled myself to work with about 2 other bartenders, and so I'll be watching. So she said, "Yeah, that sounds great. Well, I'll just invite some friends. We'll come up there to the bar and watch, and not watch, but enjoy New Year's Eve there." I'm like,
Perfect.
yeah.
She gets to
that ball
dress.
game.
She gets to dress up that way. You get to watch the game. You're
And she does
playing
never-
chess, brother.
None the wiser.
Yeah, brilliant.
And so yeah, that's that Ohio State Miami game that is such. And even it was Miami Texas A&M was a very different stylistic game as well. This one also interesting.
Yeah.
Miami has shown you that surprisingly they have a stout line of scrimmage. Their defensive line is really good too.
Yeah,
they're going to present some problems for the team that everybody for most of the year thought was unbeatable, Ohio State, until they lost to Indiana. But they've shown you some cracks in some of those games. They don't score. They're not very explosive at all. They're not. Ohio State's not an explosive team. They beat you in the details, in the margins, and squeeze you to death. Defense very good. So this could be a game that I don't know how this is going to go. It could be Smooch. It could be Ohio State just doing everything perfectly, just bam, 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 the Georgia way, and just doesn't give you any errors, doesn't beat themselves, and just slowly walks away from you. It's a field goal game, and then it's a touchdown game, and then it's a 2-score game. And if you look up and they're up by 3 scores and there's only 5 minutes to go in the ball game, it could be that way. Or Carson Beck, if the line of scrimmage plays well, he's got some Malachi. What's his name? Tony.
No, yeah.
Is it Malachi? Yeah, he's a playmaker that they use him the right way all over the field.
Yeah,
could be a difference maker. It's explosive plays because I just told you that Ohio State is one of the teams left in this in playoffs that are not very good in explosive plays. So Miami could utilize that and keep this game close. I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 different paths. Either Ohio State comes out and dominates the game. First of all, will the real Ohio State please stand up? I'm not sure which
don't know.
one. I don't know who they are. I really don't. And they're surrounded by so much, Notre Dame level hype every year. It's really hard to get a read on them each season. In this particular season, it's been very difficult. They're extremely talented at wide receiver, some studs in the defensive secondary. Miami has an offense that can be remarkably explosive. I don't know how good Ohio State is, and I don't know how good Miami is. That's kind of where I am looking at this game. I think Carson Beck has a problem with Caleb Downs. I don't think that the way he throws the ball and the way he sort of tries too hard at certain points in the game, when you've got a monster like Downs running around a secondary, I think that could end up very badly for Miami. But yeah, it is. I think if it's a close game, though, if it's a close game, I'm going to have to go Miami. Carson Beck does have battle testing. He has been in the biggest games. That team is littered on defense, especially. They're littered with NFL talent. And so I think if it's a close game, it leans Miami. If it's a dominating game, it's Ohio State. I kind of see it a feast or famine, and that's the best guess I can give you guys because I really don't know enough to put any stock in either one of these takes.
Well, one advantage, and you just mentioned it, that Carson Beck does have is he has been here before. He has, in 2023, he led Georgia to a one-loss season.
Mm-hmm.
Like 12-1, what was it, 12-1?
Mm-hmm.
They lost an SEC championship against Alabama by 3 points.
And so
he's been in games like this. And then, and then 2024, he's played in big games. He has been there. He is not a new talent who is going to struggle in these situations. He's got has his own wards, of course. Mm-hmm. But Julian Sayin is going to be in this situation for the first time.
Yes.
So if Ohio State wins, it feels like it should be a program win. Georgia's done that.
Yeah.
It feels like the way Georgia has won some games, they're just going to beat you in the margins and not going to beat themselves, and you're going to make mistakes and they're going to walk away from you. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to feel like they just blew you out, but in the end, it's going to be a 13-point loss or something like that.
Right.
But you're right. Carson Beck and Malachi Tony do give you that factor that, like I said, it's a puncher's chance, and they're a good enough team. They looking at the statistics year long, they're really comparable in terms of championship level teams. They can do those things, and so that first, New Year's Eve, that's going to be a great one to watch. I hope it's close. I always root for, even if we don't always know who we want to root for. Most times, I root for a one possession game late in the game.
Yes,
that's all. That's all. And I think this has the opportunity to do that as long as Miami doesn't turn the ball over.
Yes.
Then this could be one of those huge, exciting games at the end. I got my prediction in this game is actually a low-scoring game. 17-10, Ohio State wins this game, 17-10. So maybe Carson Beck doesn't have his swan song where he stamps his his talent and shows the NFL brass that he is a top pick. I think it's 17-10 Ohio State. I think it'll win. It's going to be a defensive game, I think, and yeah.
Well, I'll give you mine, but I'll tell you, looking at this spread, the spread is about 9.5 right now. Ohio State and 9.5, laying 9.5. So you and I both think that Miami covers the spread, but I think they pull it out. I think they get on them early, and I think that Sayan just can't lead the comeback. I've got Miami 24, Ohio State 21 in a one-possession late game. Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
If your first two predictions happen, you know what that means for the semifinals, right?
I do. I do. That factored in.
That's Gunnar Stockton versus Carson Beck, so that'd be fun. That'd be a fun one. The storylines on that one. Whew.
Oh my gosh, that would be. You couldn't write better cinema than that.
That is definitely cinema. The second game, I guess the first game of New Year's Day is a game. I haven't watched a ton of these teams. I just watched a little bit of Oregon this past week, but Oregon against Texas Tech, and that's one of those games where if I was just going to look at it on the surface, I would say Oregon's going to win this game easy. Texas Tech is not ready for this, and they have never been on this. They haven't been on stage in ever or how long, I don't know. Never in the playoff era. But Texas Tech and Oregon is I think it's a good first game of New Year's Day to whet our appetites for the rest of the game. I don't know. I think looking at this, Smooch, and you can hope you have an opinion on it. I think this is a more of a surface level opinion, is that Oregon's offense is really good. They're explosive. They can score a lot of points. And Texas Tech is known for their defense. I don't know anything about Texas Tech's offense. I would not anticipate that their offense is going to show up in this game. They're going to have to win a low scoring game. Texas Tech, I just don't know they've been tested the way a lot of these teams have. Yeah, and they haven't. They're the Big 12 representative. They haven't been tested that way.
100%. And I've watched a little bit of both. What I came down to is we've never seen either one of these teams really stretched by a dominant team, have that signature type of win. Not even this season. And here's where I came down on it. Who's more prepared for the big stage? And you have to go with Oregon. Oregon's a much higher profile team. They've got a coach that's won a national championship with Kirby Smart. They have guys in the building that know what it takes to win in these situations. Texas Tech, I just think, that old cliche, I can see the moment being a bit too big for Texas Tech. That's kind of where I come down on this one. But, the way things work out so often with this, when we're talking about these types of things, games like this end up being the best game of the slate because, nobody knows anything about either team. So I think it's a little higher scoring. I think that we see a game that's not as pretty and defensively buttoned down as we think it will be. And I think it just has to do with the fact that these teams are both going to be in an environment they're not really prepared for. And I think it kind of gets a little sloppy and there's more points scored than I think people believe will be scored.
Well, the only time I've watched Texas Tech play was in the Big 12 championship against BYU. Mm-hmm. And we were watching that game and chatting back and forth, and I was like, neither of these teams are ready for this stage.
You said that as exact words, yep.
And but Texas Tech was the one that got through it, and they got through it very similar to how they did in the regular season against BYU. But we just don't have a reference to what Texas Tech will do against a juggernaut team, a team who has championship aspirations. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech, folks, is not winning a national championship this year. They're not. Anybody listening on this will agree with me. But they can give Oregon some problems, but they have to they have to win. Again, I keep saying this. They have to win in the details, which means they have to have a really high third down percentage, have to keep, I feel like, low scoring. They can't turn the ball over. They're a team that has to win that time because they're a defensive team. And I watched just to watch the Rodriguez kid at linebacker. I wanted to see what he could do. And I've only seen him again against BYU. But my prediction in this game, Smooch, as we kick off a spectacular day of football on that New Year's Day, is Oregon 31, Texas Tech 17. Is that too many points? Is that too many points? Too little points?
We're almost identical, buddy. I came down about the same. When I looked at it, I think that, and since we know less about either one of these two teams' real makeup, I figured I'd make my prediction more specific than the others, just really double and triple down on it. So I think this game is close. I think we go into the fourth quarter tied 21-21. Oregon scores a go-ahead touchdown to go up 28-21. A late interception by Texas Tech. Texas Tech throws an interception. Oregon kicks the dagger field goal. 31-21, Oregon over Texas Tech. Yeah,
so we'll be interested to see that. This is like you mentioned. This is not a game because we haven't watched and even with Oregon in the Big Ten now, I haven't watched them that closely. They haven't felt like a team I needed to watch.
That's right.
Now, the next game, Smooch, is one I am very excited to see because we know a lot about Alabama.
Yeah.
And we respect Alabama. And so I've had conversations and read conversations from Georgia fans who would never, ever root for Alabama. And I would never root for Alabama either. But this is a referendum on the SEC versus the Big Ten.
There you go.
And the talent is skewed towards Alabama, and the play this year is would tell you Indiana is for real. They won at Oregon. They won against Ohio State. I don't care. You can look at the blue chip ratio is something we reference a lot on this show, and in terms of how much talent you have, and Indiana doesn't have it, but they are playing really complimentary football, and they are buttoned up, and Cignetti is doing a great job with those guys. And I'm a doubter. I didn't believe in him last year, but he's making me a believer. And his rhetoric is a little out there sometimes, but on the field, man, they're playing great football. But I'm not going to root for Indiana because every game we watch, we're rooting. We're kind of got a feeling like, okay, I want you to do this. We have a rooting interest. And it might not be that we want Alabama to succeed and to, we want them to take some shots and to be able to talk trash to Alabama. But in this type of game, I'm not afraid of Alabama at all. And so it's just getting down to figuring out what is going to be. I think the big problem with Alabama, if Alabama could run the ball and was more balanced of an offense, it'd be an easy call here.
Yeah. Well, they may be able to run the ball against Indiana. That's what I'm really interested to see. I'm a big believer that the SEC is not only the best conference in football, but far and away the best conference. And at the end of the year, when these bowl games happen and people will point out to an unranked SEC team losing to a ranked somebody other team, we're not talking about one-off games. I'm not even talking about this particular Alabama-Indiana game, even though it is a referendum, as you stated. I'm talking about if you take Indiana and put it in the SEC and make them play an SEC schedule, they're not ranked. They're a 4 to 5 loss team playing an SEC schedule because you don't get to have bad or off weeks when you play in the SEC. You're going to slip up. You're going to lose to a Mississippi State or a Kentucky or a Tennessee. Those things happen because everybody in the SEC is dangerous. So when you talk about, are you guys really going to root for Alabama? Alabama is the SEC's representative in this game, and I'm really my patience is wearing thin where we have to play. Let's pretend maybe these teams are maybe these other leagues the Big Ten is as good as the SEC. That's silly. You got 2 good teams there, 2, but either one of those teams has trouble staying in the playoff hunt if they play an SEC schedule. So I think Bama goes in and proves it. And I think they can run the ball against this team.
Think so?
I think it's going to come down to, look, I know they don't have the best blockers, but my gosh, I don't know if Indiana has two guys that are as big as Caden Proctor. I mean, if you put them together. So I think they really might be able to bully them. And if they can, Alabama keeps it ugly, low scoring, and dominates. I really can see that.
If you don't pressure Ty Simpson, he will hurt you over and over again. He is really good. We've seen how good Ty Simpson is, and he's got weapons. And you can even dismiss what Ron Williams is available to do or able to do at this point, but he's a weapon. They have weapons all over the field. And if they don't, if it comes down to me, can they pressure Ty Simpson and make him uncomfortable? If they don't, boy, he's going to make you look silly. You're going to be like, okay, I thought Alabama was done. Georgia made Alabama look like they were done.
Right.
And it comes down to that. And we learned that from the game one against Alabama in September to the SEC championship. We learned what you have to do. And Georgia got to a point where their secondary was more comfortable that they could do that and not be at risk. So that was the growth with Georgia to be able to execute that. But it's going to come down to Indiana. And these teams aren't that unsimilar. I think Mendoza is a playmaker as well. Yep. But the strength of Alabama's defense is that secondary. Yeah. They're very good. They will show you things, and they'll confuse you. I mean, Gunnar Stockton didn't put up a ton of passing yards against Bama, but they were able to win that game defensively, really, and put Georgia's offense in some very advantageous situations. But Alabama's secondary and their defense on that level is going to give Mendoza some issues. If you think he's just going to take shots and have people running wide open, he's not. He's not. Right. They're going to have to really execute and have some drives. Alabama will make you drive the ball. Yeah. And like I said, again, if you don't pressure Simpson, they will win this game. Alabama will win it, and you'll be like, I thought Alabama was done. Mm-hmm. And you hear people like some prognosticators, some pundits saying, well, Georgia you had a chance to beat Georgia this year. Several teams had a chance to end the Georgia season, and they couldn't do it because Georgia finds a way. Well, Alabama could be in the same situation. They could end up being in a national championship again because they have the talent, and they just have to. There are some more issues where they really are compromised. They're not the same kind of Alabama team they were in 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I got this game being a close game. I really do. I think Alabama's going to win this game. I didn't know how I felt about it. I thought long and hard more about this game than any other game. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Alabama's going to win a very close game because they've been in these games and they have the resume. They're going to win this game 20-17, Smooch. 20-17.
I love it. Again, we're pretty close once again. I've been asked about this so much. The Bama fans here, they're very unsure this season. That's the best way to I live here in North Alabama, but the best way to sum up this season's crop of Alabama fans is unsure. And so they've been asking.
Not as cocky as in the past, are they?
Not as cocky. And so I've been asked so many times, hey, what do you think? As someone that's not emotionally invested in this game, I'm like, how do you know I'm not emotionally invested in it? I love this stuff. But anyway, I know what they mean. And I've been reassuring them. I was like, guys, I may be wrong. I was wrong when Alabama lost to Michigan a few years ago because I just didn't see how that could happen, and then it did happen. But I do not see it. This is closer to me to Georgia TCU than it is to Alabama Michigan. You know, I think that Alabama, can they go out there and blow them out by 40? Not really. That's not the way this team is set up. But can they just say our guys are bigger than your guys and we're going to beat you up until you can't fight anymore? Yeah. Look for a close first quarter. Alabama to start putting some distance between them. I've got Alabama winning. By the way, 7-point favorite. Indiana's a 7-point favorite. If you're going to bet something, bet that. Listen to Uncle Smooch here. Anyway, I've got Alabama winning outright 24-10, Troop Brinson.
Whoa, that's a big win for Alabama, and it could go that way. Mm-hmm. And I, before we finish up with this game, I do feel like Indiana has kind of made a believer out of me. I would be quick to dismiss anything they've done, but they've beaten some good teams this year. They don't have the same resume that a SEC team does, and I really want to flesh this out more soon. Big Ten, more specifically Big Ten versus SEC, and this is a jumping off part of that, and this will give us some more evidence when we look at this top level SEC team, because Alabama is a top 2 team in the SEC. So is Indiana top 2 team in the Big Ten. And so that's a good comparison. Don't tell me what happens with Missouri or whoever, I don't care
LSU.
Yeah. Or don't look at LSU and Hawaii, or not Hawaii, or Houston, and think that's a referendum on anything. It's not, especially when people just dismiss that you're not playing with your starting quarterback. And it's the same thing that because Nussmeier didn't play, right? It's the same thing when people look at the Notre Dame fans want to still point to the game last year against Georgia and say, this is what we can do. Well, you guys played a good game. You got turnovers and you got some things that aren't normal to happening. And plus you had a quarterback. When your quarterback is starting his first game and it's an elimination game,
that's hard stuff.
It's hard. That's really hard. And so win that game, be happy you won it, but don't think it means anything going forward, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And so I really want to talk about this game is big to me because it is a referendum on, to me, SEC and Big Ten, which is a conversation. We're going to have this conversation, whether it's before the national championship is over or not. I probably won't be, because there's going to be a lot of content we can cover. But at some point, we are definitely going to look at some of these games and talk about SEC, Big Ten, and it's going to branch out more. I mean, we can look at the top 3 teams from each conference, but it's more about which conference has teams that can win a national championship. Because there's some teams in each conference that's got no shot. They will never win a national championship. You cannot predict. You cannot look in any immediate future and think that's a possibility. And there's one conference that has evidence that says, okay, freaking Auburn can win a national championship. Florida can win a national championship. LSU can win a national championship.
That's good.
Georgia, Alabama. You bring those teams to the table, and then we can have a real conversation. And one conference has a lot of teams that no shot at winning a championship. No shot.
Right.
And one conference has just maybe 2 or 3 teams that's got no shot. And so, but that's a conversation for another day. I'm anxious. I want to talk about that, but the football is happening right now, and talking season's a different thing. Yeah, that's more of a talking season type.
And talking season will be here way too soon. It'll be here way quicker than we want it to get here. So we can save up.
But yeah, we had a ton of comments on YouTube the past couple of weeks, and that really I like the conversation. So, folks, if you like talking football and especially related to the comment from the commentary from the Dog Show, YouTube is the place to do it. Now we'll talk, and I even keep telling my wife about this. It's like, because she is social media relevant, a lot of stuff she does, but she doesn't have a Twitter account. Okay, I'm like, if you want to argue, just get a Twitter account. Argue, never win it. That's
where you argue. That's where you do.
You argue. Yeah. But if you want to talk specifically about something and have back and forth, YouTube's a great place for that. So we're doing well on that. We had a good time lately. But looking at my sheet, Smooch, anything else we can talk about tonight? We're about an hour in.
Man, right? I cannot wait for the games. I think that Oregon and Texas Tech feels the most insignificant to me. So that's probably going to be the best game by far. Because
we don't think either of these teams are winning a championship, do we?
Exactly. I just don't think either one of them is winning.
But everybody else on the agenda, on the list could.
I agree. I think that, and one thing I've cautioned Alabama fans you've been used to getting every call all the time. This is not gonna happen against the darlings of this football season in Indiana. Alabama is gonna get the game called straight up, if not skewed a little bit for Indiana, with the officiating. They're going to have to be able to deal with that, because I've seen Alabama when they don't get the calls they want and they kind of look like LeBron flopping. It's just this temper tantrum.
That's the game, dude.
Demanding their coddling. They're not going to get coddled in this game. They're going to have to go out and beat them, and they're going to have to beat some bad calls too, because There's a lot of people very invested in Indiana being this Cinderella team that can come out and, in 2 or 3 years become a national title contender.
And they're good enough. They're good. And they're good without the blue chip ratio, which I don't know if Indiana will ever get those same top players that Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State will. Because if you look at the numbers, those are the 3 teams that are separated in terms of talent. And that people say that's changing. That's changing because of NIL and transfer.
You still got to have a Heisman Trophy winner to make that work.
That's exactly right. We talked about quarterbacks being difference makers, and that's Mendoza.
Yeah.
But that's the game that I'm circled that I'm so interested in watching. Alabama, Indiana, and that's like a precursor to the Georgia game.
I know.
And I'm just trying to pace myself with food and drink, smooch, and get to that Georgia game where we can have a good rapid reaction after that and talk about. It might be an extended rapid reaction as we talk about all the games that happened.
If everything happens the way it's supposed to, we can do that one. Maybe we'll do it live and just carry it all night. There we go.
Oh, so good, so good. Yeah. This is a great time of year.
Yeah,
and hope you guys had a great Christmas.
Yeah,
and people talk about it's like a dead period between Christmas and New Year's, but as a football fan, we're just churning. I'm churning right now thinking about football.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to get to it. Just trying to get to New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day and enjoy all the action. We got a brisket. We're doing so my wife is part Costa Rican. I'll tell you this. And you've ever seen my wife? She's blonde hair, blue eyed. You'd never think she had anything Hispanic about her whatsoever. But she's part Costa Rican, so she's got family in, again, Costa Rica, Texas, Miami, all over the place. But I'm like, we're doing a brisket, like a 14-pound brisket for New Year's Day. And she says, well, let's do this. And we went to a little Mexican grocery store the other day, and we were buying stuff we make birria. You guys know what birria is. We did that for Christmas. Our Christmas Eve dinner was birria.
That's good
Spectacular.
Stuff,
all the peppers and cooked for all day long. But she found some black beans, and one of the a big dish in Costa Rica. It's Cuba and the Hispanic stuff it kind of blends in with Cuban cuisine and Costa Rican stuff, but it's called gallo pinto, which is basically black beans and rice. But it is so good, and so she's like, we bought this beautiful black beans, and she's going to soak black beans the day before, and we're going to make black beans and rice to go with the brisket, and we have platanos maduros, which is the sweet plantains. We're doing sweet plantains as well, and she's making a cheesecake. So I'm so excited. It's going to be a great week.
That sounds nice. I have a planning meeting with my staff tonight to discuss menu. So we have not decided yet. But
your staff.
Yeah, right about the time we get off the air tonight, I will be in conversation as to the food plan. So
got to do it, buddy. It's all a part of the whole experience.
The
Enjoy
ritual.
it, folks.
Yes, sir.
You are not guaranteed any of this. We tell people every year, as a football fan, you're not guaranteed success or these situations, and enjoy it. Kirby Smart has put Georgia in this situation year in and year out.
Yep.
And we're soaking it up. Just soak it up, folks. Enjoy it and have family over. Plan a great menu and have fun. Enjoy it. If nothing else, this is that time of year, and we're fortunate and feel glad that we're a part of this. And what's the national championships? What, on January 19th or 20th, something like that?
Yeah,
that's how we hope to be doing. We're gonna be on the air regardless, but we hope Georgia's a part of that. And they really get going. Ole Miss should be a W after that, but it's gonna get tight.
Yeah,
it's gonna get tight going forward. All these teams are better and better, and that's what it should be.
Yep, you got to beat championship teams to win a championship. I love the way it's set up this year.
Yep, that's part of your resume. All right. Loved it so much, guys. For Smooch Moncrief, this is Troop Brinson saying so long. We'll see you soon from the Dog Show.
This is the Dog Show with Troop and Smooch.